It is time, everybody. We are going into some more Metroid Prime Randomizer. Ooh, yeah. I don't know why that voice made me think Macho Man Randy Savage, but it's probably nowhere near that. Unfortunately, it is just incredibly silly no matter what. Yeah, game was not saved. Gotta recollect my bearings here a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's the other way. Helps if I press the buttons at the right time. Alright, missile start. Yeah. Alright. That's good. We don't have to go straight to Hive Mech. And anytime that is the case, that makes me very happy. Not that that's like a hard boss or anything, but it is kind of a time waster. So, the less I have to think about that, the better. At least for now. Until I can get something that kills the little bugs faster, I guess, maybe. Like, if I just instantly found Plasma Beam, that would be ideal. As a consequence, it will not happen at all. Okay, click on the thing. I don't know what the color coding on any of the models means offhand. Frigate crash site, so that is gravity suit required. Phazon mining tunnel is Phazon suit required, I believe. Biohazard containment, that's inside the ship. Fountain. Gathering hall. Basically, we're just looking to see if we see elite quarters. Then I can add Tower of Light. It's a bit of a resource sink, but we'll get there. In Plaza, that's probably not in a place that I can get really easily, is it? Furnace. That might be the freebie. Funnel. Chamber access. So far, none of these are like concern. Sun chamber. Oh man, I have to fight Flogger. Wow. It's like I'm really playing Metroid Prime. Holy crudola, you know? El Surprise. As I believe it is pronounced in French. Well, as usual, we want to go to Chozo Ruins to start with, so let's do that. Let's go and start at Chozo Ruins. And here's the loading zone. Where I get to just continue to mash the start button, basically. Good job, me. Team. Now, of course, we need the ball to be able to do anything in the Flogger region. So there's still every possibility we're going to have to fight Hive Mecha, like, right away. I'm kind of hoping not, but... You know, sometimes stuff like that happens. Yeah, our only item from your pencil pack. Dang. Yeah, ignore the bug. I don't care. I'm deeply disinterested in what that beetle has to sell. Doesn't matter to me whatsoever. Wow, that is even more useless than it usually is. Thank you, game. That's hilarious. A lot of your wasps. Well, there's the ball, unsurprisingly. And there is our super missile. Acquired already. Excellent. Actually, hold up. There's no reason for me to... Is there? Yeah, because I need bombs to get out that way. Yeah, I'm thinking about something I can't get right now. Go. Energy back. And there we go. Phase open there. Thank you for the nothing game. I expected nothing and I'm still disappointed. As it were. Oh. Fires bombs. I was thinking of the one that was upstairs. Oops. Okay, yeah, there's still some stuff we can get in the Flogger side of the level before we need bombs. So let's see if we can do anything with that. Okay, yeah, fountain. That's right. I wasn't sure. I thought that was Ruined Nursery for some reason, but that's actually the room with the bomb jump that we... So yeah, we doubly need to fight Flogger because A, there's an item in Sun Chamber that is possibly an artifact, and B, there is an item in Fountain that is definitely an artifact. Missile pack, that's nice. It's just not progression. That's like, hey, I'll need those later for Tower of Light, but now I'd rather have the progress item. Wow, that thing just really pushed me out of the way that well, huh? Sheesh. Fuck. Good place to get the bombs, actually. Literally right in a location where you need them. Very helpful game. Wavebuster! Alright, well. That sets us up for an easy meta Ridley once we get all the resources we need. So I'm happy about that. Maybe quietly, but still. Happy about that. Okay, with bombs, though, that puts Incinerator Drone in logic, and I don't know if I want to do that right now. Scratching the bottom of my leg. Something. Not have a camera. Something like that. Anyway. Artifact Warrior. Alright. Called? Gathering Hall. I don't think I saw that name when I was in the list of things, though. That's weird. Eh. Whatever. Can at least go and open up the furnace. Wow, I'm kind of bad at controlling this. That was pretty embarrassing. But also, admittedly, I've had a couple of sessions lay off, and I'm not really used to controlling this on the game anyway. Not compared to using it with the PS4 controller. Which feels much more not the same than you would think. And you would probably assume that it feels very much not correct. And you'd be right to. Regardless. Wow, I almost could not see that. Hooray, vanilla energy tank. Very funny. Very funny. Alright, let's go beat up Incinerator. That's pretty easy. That way was just a safe position, that's all. Useful. It's just not progress. There's the various suit. That's quite handy. That will let us go to Magmore. I know we have some kind of early stuff that is worth picking up, I believe. So, not necessarily a bad idea to do that and just hold off on some of the other things for a while. I don't want to fight Flogger yet. Such a massive expenditure of time. Alright, one more item to pick up before we go, and it is in Ruined Nursery. Actually, correction, there's 2 items for us to pick up. One of them is like right before that one, so... One last thing to see if this changes our course, and probably not, but again, it's not like the missile expansions are going to be useless, especially because we have Wave Buster, so want to be able to put that to good. Got the gravity suit. Oh, that's quite handy. However, I'm gonna go the other way for now. Oh yeah, I should actually go this way. Never mind. Because if I want to get those items in uh, the main area, I can just keep going, I think. I don't believe I need Wave Beam in order to open any of the doors between the Chozo Ruins entrance of Magmore and the Talon Overworld entrance. Don't necessarily take my word for that, and we'll find out when we get there, but I believe that to be the case. But first, we've got some stuff to get. Oh yeah, remember to go to the hole. Cool. Excellent. Excuse me. Power bombs, that's quite nice. That is a very useful thing to have. Or it will be eventually. Actually, we can do some shit with that now, so... The hell am I talking about eventually? Does in fact give us access to a couple of items here. Actually, wait, no. At least one of them I need the spinner for. Ball, right? this? I gotta remember. So it's not literally just that, apparently. It would have been really funny if the boost ball had been there. It also would have had some interesting implications for what the route would have been. But I digress. Well, there's our wave beam, so I guess no worries about any possibility of requiring that for... That does put a fairly easy Sheegoth fight into logic. I mean, obviously sometimes you have to do it without power bombs, but it is much easier if you have it with power bombs. Credit where it's due. All up and go for this thing. Artifact of the baby. And we are... Whoa, hey. Shit. That was... The edge of that is like weirdly bumpy. In fact, this jump is a very crusty distance to get back on this bridge. For some reason. Well, that was pointless. Back we go. Stuff in Fendrana later. Now we are looking instead to go back to the start of Talon Overworld, pick up the items there, and then I guess we can come back and we can go through things this way, and then we can go to Phendrana. That works for me. I'll be honest, I don't remember how you're supposed to get that without the grapple beam. And without taking damage, that is. There's obviously a way, I just forget what it is, for some reason. It's alright, we picked up an energy tank at a timely moment. That's not that interesting. Oh well. Let's get our head clipped by that thing. That's what we. It's not the right way. I tried paying attention. Well, there's our actual missile launcher up. Missile pack. So that's neat. Oh yeah, same way. Trying to think through my course of action here. Just go back to Flagra. I don't want to do that. And plus, we already got the item in the transport access, so I know that it's useless. Very happy. By the way, we've gotten all 4 beam combos already, which is a funny state of affairs. That almost never happens to me anymore. Oh, that was wrong. That's what I wanted to do. That's enough out of you. Now that I've already fallen off of this thing because of some reason. That some reason is that I screwed up the jump. I'm doing this badly, everybody. Would you stop turning around so quickly? Come on, I want to actually end this encounter. What a fucking jag-off, man. I'm just trying to do the thing here. Come on. There's no need for that kind of horse shit. They've been really giving me the asshole AI today, apparently. Ah, good, a power bomb expansion. I'm so glad that I got that. A thing that I don't think is going to be very useful anytime soon. Hooray, I got my one power bomb that I spent on that fight back. Yes. Hooray! We got the Ice Beam. We still can't do the Space Pirate base, unfortunately. But that will simplify things when it becomes an actual option, I suppose. That much is hard to deny. What was the iceberg Pokemon? What, you mean the thing in game that looked exactly like it? But the thing was named Bergmite, the little one, and then the big flat top one was called Avalugg. But yeah, absolutely, it does just kind of look like Bergmite because, well, I guess it's a very easy creature design to create of just, here's a little crawling thing with a chunk of ice on top of it. See, I think what should happen here is that Nintendo should sue Game Freak for copyright infringement. This is a hilarious joke because Game Freak really does get the shit end of the stick when it comes to the Pokemon Company triumvirate. As I've said this before, no doubt, that, like, really, Game Freak is just sort of like the beleaguered servant to some fat cat named Nintendo. And then Creatures Inc. is just like, I make trading cards! And is keeping themselves out of everything. You know, when things get a little bit heavy, Creatures Inc. just sort of tugs on its collar and goes, ugh, things are getting a little bit political, eh? And they start buggering off immediately. And that is how the sausage is made when it comes to the Pokemon franchise. It's okay, everybody! The games aren't actually that good. It's a great idea, but every single one of them has blaring, blaring flaws. And, oh, son of a thing. Actually, I can go through. Never mind. I was like, I think I'm fucked, aren't I? No, wait, no, I'm fucked. I can't go through here because I don't have the boost ball. Hooray! Awesome! Fucking sweet. I guess, wow, alright. So, whenever I think about any sort of phrase like that, there's this one bit in one of the PS3 Ratchet and Clank games. Yes, I know. I'm bringing this series up again. Shut the fuck up, whoever's there. I hear you, Mark. Anyway, so there's one bit in one of the PS3 games where Ratchet and Clank have to jump out of the ship, and the, like, commanding officer or whatever is like, you boys got the stones for a halo jump or something? And they prepare to jump out, and Clank goes, I do not understand. What are stones? Do I have them? And Ratchet goes, I'll tell you later. And no. And it's just a really stupid bit, but I find it very funny. Like, okay, yes, the whole bit of Robot doesn't understand thing like that. You know, Robot doesn't understand slang and stuff is just sort of a little bit overdone, but sometimes it hits a very particular note of like, okay, you wrote this just right for this overused gag, and this applies to any overused gag, to be really funny. What I'm saying is that I am willing to forgive this questionable platformer franchise for a lot of issues here. See, but I'm imagining you doing that in a Timbersaw voice, which is much funnier, but also the other half of that is you saying it and me thinking large boulder the size of small boulder. Yes. Do you remember the large boulder the size of the small boulder? Size of a small boulder, I suppose. Because with erosion, the average size of a large boulder has gone down, and maybe now all of them are small boulders. I don't know. It sounds like an insult. Wow. Well, yeah, it does, but... It's alright. Somehow bizarre insult feels like it fits right at home here. On this strim. Strim, not to be confused with scrim. Wait. Oh, look at this nerd using a technical term. Geology, alright. I mean, fair enough. I guess you could call it the geology. That's a... arguably an acceptable use of the word geology. As I continue to make it sound like I have never heard the word geology, and I don't know how to make it not sound like shit on my end. Well, I have some very unfortunate news. I am bad at everything. Okay, so I'm still a little bit unsure as to where Boots Balls could be. I'm gonna assume that Boost Ball is somewhere that sucks. Geology. There you go. Hey, Matt. Where... Okay, yeah, so this will take us just straight out here. Yeah, with no boost ball, there's quite a lot that I actually cannot get done right now. It's a little bit surprising, really. Or maybe not. Maybe this is completely understandable. In fact, it probably is. So, just for the heck of it, I'm gonna go get this item that's in the acid real quick, because I know that I can take a dunk and survive. Maybe it'll be everybody's upsettingly named favorite piece of equipment. Spider Ball. I said those words in the wrong order. Whatever. I feel like nobody would have noticed if I hadn't said anything. Well, I called it. Oops. That's right, gang. We got the spider's balls or something. I don't know. Ah, getting the thing. Well, here's what I can tell you about spider biology. They got 8 legs. Other than that, I'm not sure. Nice, we got the grapple beam. Well, that does open up an area for us that we get to. We can't do everything in that path, but it's up some items to us. The Greem. Oh god. That's a name. Soon I'm gonna be saying that. Dr. Peppers. Wait. No, I'm... We got this. Yeah, see, we got there at the end. God, what was that? What was I gonna say? Oh, right. Yeah, I think there's one thing that, like... So... Insects, as we are well aware, are generally divided into a head, thorax, and abdomen. Thorax being a fantastic word, just in general. I kind of wish more people referred to the corresponding section of the human body as the thorax, which... Anyway, but I believe that with spiders, they technically are not divided up like that. It's like the head and then the section that's the thorax and abdomen, which... That is completely not useful information, but there it is anyway. Well, that was extremely over the top thing to get a missile pack for. Thank you, game. Alright, we're not going in that next room because we don't want to fight ghost birds, but we do want the artifact of spirit. Well, see, it's good that you think that because non-useful information is like all anyone can ever get out of this string. It's some sort of like weird thing that I believe is technically classified as a curse, but I believe is probably better considered an attribute. Or if you're going to be a little bit more slangy about it, a passive. What's your offer? Roundy, how's it going? We are about to go and fight a boss because I think it might be our best next thing to do. What? That thing just decided that it really wanted to cause us some problems. What a guy. Oh god, I haven't watched Courage the Cowardly Dog in years! Years! But I don't know if that's a thing that even, like, still air reruns of on Cartoon Network or anything like that. I don't even have that channel, so how would I know? But I'd say it's probably on DVD, but by that I mean it was probably on DVD like some decades ago. And I feel a little bit alarmed that I can say decades about DVDs, you know. Yeah, we're all getting fucking old. And that means that technically you could get it on DVD if you want to spend like $250 for a single disc on eBay. And I don't think I would go that far. It's likely on VHS. I mean, yes, actually, probably, because I believe the first few episodes did come out in the late 90s, too, so... Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm setting aside piracy because, like, of course. The amount of things that you cannot get that way are quite slim. Especially if you have access to the right tools. Because, like, sure, you know, for example, with music, which is a big thing for me, unsurprisingly, that there's no small amount of, like, weird, obscure albums that you can't really find very easily, like, a download on a torrent site or something. And God help you trying to get it physically, but, you know, we're ruling that out because that's not piracy by itself. And no matter how much some companies try to push to end-used sales in various ways, it does not count. And on the other hand, you can find them on I was gonna say the service owned by the CEO of Spotify, but I couldn't remember his name, so I've just moved the gag. But you know, they exist on Spotify, which means that there's tools that you can use to grab those from Spotify. And let me tell you, when you do that, the artist is not losing a fucking dime. Mostly because you would have to listen to a song like a couple 100,000 times for them to get a dime via Spotify. Daniel Ek, yes, that's right. The guy who's like he's investing his money into like weapons shit too, if I recall correctly, which is really effed. Because we all know that that's where any artist wants their money to go, is to the war industry, right? And if there is an artist who wants their money to go to war causes, well, I don't want to associate with them. Because that's a big what in the fuck is wrong with you, champ? Yeah, exactly. And I would say, and the arts in general, but then I remember that since I was digging back through some old conversations recently, for reasons that I do not 100% remember, I think it was probably to be like, hey, did I tell you about something at some point? Why am I always fighting this guy? Basically, the game is structured such that this guy is always some sort of bottleneck. Like, obviously, the randomizer routes are not designed on any way whatsoever. But... It just sort of happened that way, basically, as a result, that actually, even in Rando, this guy is just a bottleneck. Fighting Shieldred. I mean, a little bit. This thing is definitely more like one of the Domini, I think, design-wise. I mean, it's bug-like, which technically is Shieldred a little bit. She's a weird spider lady. Or was. Yeah, Zopandrel is the green one, right? Forgive me if I don't remember the exact naming schema of the characters, the new characters in the game anymore, because I have been out of things for 5 years, despite the fact that I'm like, hey, yeah, I still think about it a lot. I'll still get shit wrong. Yeah. I remember Mondrak and I remember Drivnod. And I don't know why I remember Drivnod, because, like, I don't think Drivnod is actually a good card. I think it's just like, oh, that's a really particularly unpleasant sounding name, it's like, oh, you did actually sort of hit the vibes of being like, it sounds like something that you would hear out of like a black metal album when the guy is actually trying to sing something, but it just sounds like a mess of phonemes. But yeah, it is weird for me to be like, yeah, hey, sorry if I fuck these names up for being out of 5 years, and it's like, wow, every stream I just talk about things in Magic Story, and it's like, well, sometimes you become the superposition, I guess. As much as you bring it up, Roundy, I probably still would anyway, just... Like, you were not the one who pushed me and my family into the direction of looking into one of the Pro Tour booths in '97 when we were just randomly walking through Navy Pier, so... You know, I can't really fault you for that, because it's just sort of this thing that's become ingrained into my personality from a young age. What else can I say about it, other than... Holy shit, that actually worked, thank goodness. I was about to kick myself in the... somewhere. Like a cult. I mean... Somehow I don't think you're wrong. Ironically, looks a little bit at the villains that we were talking about here. I mean, I guess saying the cult thing is less stupid than it sounds, if only because it's like, hey, we walked into this room at random, and this guy at the door handed us... he definitely handed my brother a gold-bordered Force of Will, which, unfortunately, that has a not a good card back, so it's not like a thing that if I had kept it, it would be illegal now. And also, obviously, if it was, I would be trying to trade it for a newer print of it because, well... anyway, setting that part aside, and it's like, oh, hey, yeah, here's this thing you can get into, and, oh, by the way, you've got a kid there? Well, we did just introduce the starter level products, so this will be a nice, easy way to get into... Oh, abso-fucking-lutely. I was not ignoring you, by the way, Bryself. I'm sorry, I just had a lot of words to say in a row. Speaking of which, I don't know if we have a schedule yet for the next TRB thing, but of course, the most recent set of games was on Sunday, so... And with the fact that I know that you've got a life, and Burgundy is busy as hell, so I assume that you guys are... You know, it doesn't have to be every week. We'll just treat it like it is. This Sunday at 5 p.m. Gotcha. Sunday! I can't pull that off, but... Nice, though. I am glad to hear. As I gotta think for a second. I came out here like, where the hell am I going? Where am I going and why? I have Spider Ball, so I can escape the area. I can go to Fendrana, that's right. Like, what the hell is the name of that place? I can't do everything that needs Boost Ball yet because I still don't have that. I can go into the back area of the Chozo Zone, at least partially. I'm gonna go and warp back to the start, actually. Because I have gravity suit, so I can at least start on the wrecked ship. Which should allow me to go to the backside of Chozo Ruins anyway. And then I don't have to worry about needing Boost Ball in order to deal with the one thing. 10th installment of Instant Classics. Fuck yeah, bud. That's what we enjoy around here. Is when the game gets really, really silly. Look at me being very poor on the old sense of direction. I think I hadn't played this in 2 weeks. And you'd be right. Jump. I go from here, right? Yes, that'll do it. There's our artifact. Right, it's not a progress item. Well, it is ultimately, but for now it's not what I'm looking for. See, this is a place where not having boost ball doesn't matter, thankfully. Because the only puzzle here is just doing a bunch of these things that really want the thermal visor, but ultimately you can get away without. I just gotta remember what the particular model of the thing that I'm looking at in this room looks like. Ways I do think. Fire into the stone. I think that was one of them, but I'm not 100% sure. Still sounded like it could have been one of them, but I remember there's at least one down here. There it is. Okay, we gotta get out of this part of the pile. there's usually at least one by the door, so I'm gonna try to go over there and yeah. Oop. Well, that wouldn't go very well. Let's go this way. Across these floating chunks that are here for some. I think that's just great there for. Yeah, it's a little bit of grading. One of these days I'll like properly memorize the locations for these things. There it is! Much easier than it seemed like. I had to actually find the grate in that case, but I think one of them is not in one of those grates. Which is one of the very few instances of that in this type of puzzle. Yeah, those are like super visible if you get close. Oh no, that's just letting me know that it works. Okay. I thought I had to scan that for some reason because I forgot. Regular missile does it. Sweet. I didn't miss one lower down, did I? I'm down and check anyway. Yeah, I think I did, because there's one right there. Whoops. You'd think I would memorize some of these things a little better with how many times I've done this, but I'm bad at that for some reason. Some parts of my brain don't work properly. That would be all of them, really. That thing came back real fast. Better. I'm really doing badly at basic platforming today. Always a little scary for some. For some reason is, hey, yeah, sudden thing falling on you. Place like this, there's fair cause to believe something nasty. Oh yeah, it is somewhere stupid. Yeah. Good going, me. There's an instance where there's one of these hidden in a locker, and I forget where it is, so... Sort of hedging my bets a little bit here. There's an artifact in here, I believe, so... Let's already get that. There we go. And see, it was properly labeled. I just trusted a little better. Come on, open up. How long does it take to load this room? Apparently the answer to that is yes. Ooh, that was a loud and gross noise for that thing going off. Well, I think Ice Beam will help us out a little bit. I can stay targeted on these guys. Okay, now comes the part where I don't remember where jack shit in this room is, actually. I mean, it's quite obvious the buffoon move that I'm doing here is that I am coming in without a thermal visor. Solved this problem by itself pretty nicely, but I didn't find it yet, so oh well. There we go. That's 2 out of 3. I'm assuming that number 4 is somewhere, or number 3 is somewhere down here. Second, I thought I saw it. 3! Yeah. Oh, 3 count. Oh. The many things in wrestling. Many strange and memorable and memeable things. There we go. Really? You found out that Brando of Dwayne and Brando is apparently a trans person. That's interesting. I didn't hear anything about that, but I also don't necessarily know that I follow... well, I don't follow a lot of things, to be perfectly honest with you, so... I hadn't heard that before, but I assumed that there's also probably not a lot of people who are discussing Dwayne and Brando very much on the internet outside of, you know, certain circles, because... What proportion of people do you think want to reckon with the floor is lava just in general, right? Because... And also, I know how people on the internet are lately that, like... I feel like conversations around that would get really ugly, and not for the reasons that most people would immediately assume of being like, oh, well, you know, how any chud reacts to a trans person existing. But just because more of, like... The thing that I'm more worried about, perhaps because it's a little bit, like, nastier for the call to come from inside the house, is anybody who would get a little bit too high on their horse about purity testing that would suddenly bring that up and be like, oh, well, you know, and have some incredibly, like, irradiated brain takes on things, right? I don't have polite terminology except to say that, like, that wouldn't necessarily be a hot take. It would just be an apocalyptically stupid one on that person's part. Because there's definitely a lot of people out there who are very much looking for the unproblematic queer, as if that person is suddenly going to magically, you know, not be subject to the kinds of getting stomped on that everyone else is. But also, I think that a lot of people want to think that their nose is a lot cleaner than anyone else, so... Yeah, you know, complicated, nasty shit that I don't know that I necessarily feel the most comfortable getting into, and I don't know that anybody else wants to either. So I apologize, and I apologize. And that's the trajectory here is, you know, oops, shouldn't have brought it up, I guess. But yeah, no, that's quite interesting though. Now that we've gotten away from the parts of the parts of things where I'm kind of being a bit of a doomer, but because hey, I've spent enough time on the internet, and so have the rest of you, I'm sure, that it's like people will find a way to make anything suck if they can. Right? Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, the apocalypse is coming and none of us are going to be spared. And let me tell you, it's going to be monumentally more stupid of an apocalypse than anyone could possibly imagine. Right? Like, that I don't think is necessarily a thing that's in doubt, is it? At this point, winning is just seeing how much copper wire you can get out of the building with. Yeah, pretty much. That tragically is a good description of it. Personally, I like to hope that I'm willing to welcome the end a little bit. Or at least that it's... not going to terrify me as much. I think the thing that's a little bit more rattling when it comes to the prospect of end of the world is the idea of actually surviving it, right? Because that's when the consequences are going to come back and it's suddenly going to be like, ooh, I was all ready for this to happen for nothing. Shit. Um, get in the hole. Come on. Yeah, we continue to be without boost balling. Eh. So once we drop down into that watery pit, that is a one-way street, my friends. Unless we happen to find the boost ball up here, which is in logic, I believe, so it's not like it's impossible. Profoundly stupid, perhaps, but still possible. No, it's just a missile pack. Struggle through the pain grass real quick. I wonder. Yeah. What if we just had grass that, like, kills you? That would be really messed up. Yeah, it definitely would. Well, we can do something arguably useful by doing that. Now, I kind of wish we could skip this bird ghost encounter. But, oh, huh, that thing is solid. Okay. I've never been able to see that before, I think. Um, that sounds about right. Yeah, original Metroid definitely did not, but original Metroid was lacking a lot of things, to be honest with you. It certainly did not have a, oh goodness. I had this weird moment of, like, did original Metroid even have that many environmental hazards? I had to remember for a second if it even had lava, which, I mean, obviously it did. It had it in Norfair. Everyone's just reminding me, hey, yeah, of course it had lava, you fool. It's just that it's been a while since I've played it, and it's a very, well, as you can all tell, kind of bare bones game. That I did have a sort of, like, brain aneurysm moment of, oh, did there somehow not exist any hot soup in this game for some reason? Floor was sometime. Yes. Yes. In fact, I want to say that there were some areas, to make it quite literal, where the floor, the, like, bottom of the screen was just sort of, you couldn't see any of the blocks at the bottom of the screen. It was just basically, like, void. Which was a thing in Super Metroid that you could stand on the very bottom of the screen in one room in Norfair as it filled up with lava. And that's the weird, odd thing that I remember about Super Metroid for some reason. Okay? Yeah, it's... There are some ways, and this probably is, like, heretical to say, but there's a couple of ways, and most of them are admittedly kind of minor, that I think Super Metroid is slightly dated. But maybe that's mostly because they introduced later Metroid games that had slightly smoother controls in some of those areas. Like, there's just little bits that I prefer about the controls of Metroid Fusion to Super Metroid. And overall, I'd probably say Metroid Fusion, pardon me, is the best out of the 2D Metroid games. I don't know if that's an opinion that a lot of people would share, but there it is. Those are my tastes. I'm a sicko. You know what? I got an idea. It was problematic in retrospect for Samus to handwave Bill Clinton's sexual impropriety. It's okay. I don't think very many people were talking about that in '94. Now, perhaps I don't remember there because, well, old, but, not that old, really. I'm used to calling myself old, and, yeah. Yeah, that is admittedly kind of true that it functions significantly better when you do not know that the SAX is coming and also that it has all these weird AI flaws that you can exploit to make it do very, very stupid shit. Like, yeah, Lears has brought that up a couple of times and he feels like a big doomer about it sometimes, which, on the other hand, to be fair, I get it. Replayability in video games is a thing that is very easily ruined, so... The best you've played is Super, your favorite is 2. I think that's fair. Because, yeah, Metroid 2 is definitely a game that has a very unique feel to it, and I think it's pretty cool. Super Metroid is a perfectly reasonable pick for being the best one. I mean, it's very easy for me to look at anybody looking at the most popular game in a franchise and being like, oh, that's your favorite? That is some serious basic bitch behavior, but, Super Metroid is a very good game that is mostly well polished, and if you want to complain about it, I think it would more be like, oh, well, somebody did something a little bit better down the line, as opposed to, oh, it wasn't actually that good to begin with. Which is kind of where I sit with Fusion. It's like, oh, somebody happened to improve on it. You assume Zero Mission would knock it down to 4th. I don't believe I finished Zero Mission because I got into one spot that I was a little bit confused about where to go with it, and of course it was portable, so I was taking it with me places, so I didn't have access to a guide at the time, so I was like, the fuck do I do with this? I'll come back to it later, and I still haven't gotten back to it because I have backlog issues. I say, quietly starting another Balatro run off in the background. I'm not actually literally doing that, but I'm very much the person who'll be like, I got a huge backlog that I need to get through, so some things will get lost by the wayside, and the backlog ends up being just the same games that I've played a million times over and over again. I mean, if I was ever serious about clearing out my game backlog, I'm spending 2 of my 5 streams a week doing randomizers for, and in this case, it's for a game that I've played to death, and this is, what, like my 20th rando seed that when I upload it, I think, but, I digress. Zero Mission definitely seemed very good. I suppose Zero Mission could be said to be like, hey, yeah, after I played Super, this is what I had wanted original Metroid to be the whole time, because, yeah, vanilla Metroid is, it's a game, alright. Fuck, sorry about the flashing. I'm trying to figure out where I gotta go now, because I have somehow gotten horribly lost. Oh, right, because there's a second one of these things. That is extremely understandable. As somebody who has played NES Metroid and beaten it, don't do it. It's a waste of your fucking time. OG Metroid is probably... If there is any one video game that I look at and I go, how the fuck did this get a franchise? In particular, one that ended up being so good. Metroid 1 is absolutely the game. Like, it looks like one of those things to me where it's like, okay, they gave this a second chance. Somebody is absolutely the fuck insane. Either that or they just had, quite rightfully, enough personal respect for Gunpei Yokoi that they were just like, okay, you want another Metroid game? Absolutely. Why are we going to argue with you? And then, you know, Metroid 2 happened, and it was really, really good. Yeah, I mean, that's entirely fair. I guess, again, part of the problem is that when I actually played Metroid 1, it was kind of when I was 30-ish. Because I played that as part of the lead-up to the release of Metroid Dread. Where we're all hyped for the next Kid Icarus, and the prospect of a Metroid sequel is mother level never gonna happen. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I am surprised that we haven't seen any more Kid Icarus games after Uprising. But perhaps that game just actually sold like absolute shit. I mean, I guess that's a Sakurai project, right? So it can't possibly be doing the level of gangbusters that, like, Smash Brothers does, right? You get Mother on the Nest as an official release. Perhaps. But I think for that to happen, there would have to be a set of circumstances that pushes the release of the Super NES back by a chunk of time. Because while I'm not some sort of absolute history expert, I would kind of hazard a guess that if anything is going to make Mother 1 on the actual US NES and other English-speaking territories, you know, basically for it to happen anywhere outside of Japan, that they would not have to have been working on the SNES at the time. My understanding is that much like with Earthbound, Mother 1 was intended to be released in at least the US with the strategy guide packed in. So you've got this big box and all this other various stuff that would probably make manufacturing costs even higher than they were. And in a case like that, I I would think that that probably would make Nintendo go a little bit like, we're working on this new console. We got to make sure this is a thing. I don't think we can allocate the resources to an untested RPG franchise that is going to have these very high manufacturing costs. Excuse me. Scratch and sniff vomit cards aged in storage for 5 years. You know, just to make them a little bit extra ripe. I'm pretty sure in Earthbound, that's how you get Master Belch upgrade to Master Barf, right? He just spends 5 years in the warehouse. Yeah, they absolutely had no fucking clue how to advertise. Foosball! They had no fucking clue how to advertise Earthbound, I'm sorry. But we got the item that's been like our big pain in the ass for a little bit, so that's good. Earthbound was a game that was definitely not like many others at the time, I'll say that. And especially with the fact that they were very much still in this era where, although we were having some video games that were a little more adult, I don't think the idea of video games being anything but toys for children had really been a thing that the Americas had cottoned on to. Yeah, even with advertising like that, I am saying what I just said. You are correct. That was definitely like this weird era of... Not that game advertisements aren't still often kind of weird, but... Man, the 90s and the aughts were a special time for absolutely deranged shit. Also, just yesterday, speaking of like deranged shit in Nintendo advertising, especially in the English-speaking territories, I just saw on Blue Sky, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, that it was an advertisement for a DS-era Need for Speed game. So, you know, on the DS, and it's just a guy's finger with, like, a tribal tattoo on it, and the slogan that they used at the time, which was, touching is good, because, you know, extremely childish idea, right? I'm not here to necessarily call it out for, like, being sexual. I'm here to call it out for being fucking stupid. Still find, but yeah, you still find the Yoshi's Island commercial mildly traumatic. Well, I think that's fair, because I think I probably still find Yoshi's Island itself to be mildly traumatic. That game, it was very specifically like the big giant lava monsters that you found in some of the castles, which were, I think they were supposed to be blargs, but don't take my word for that. Oh yeah, Feel the Magic. Feel the Magic with XXXY as part of the title, I think. Or as they called it in Japan, the Rub Rabbits, which, I mean, that's... Boy, when you look at the title of Feel the Magic XX/XY and you have to go, okay, that is the better title? then something has gotten a little bit weird. I do not remember Sprung at all, but I will absolutely take your word for it on this being a real thing. I forgot where the third scan target is for the thermal visor, because I'm dumb. It's over here. Okay. Right. That one, not that one. Yeah, so a big asterisk here that the randomizer does introduce a little bit of fucked upness with this particular room, in that one of the things that they want you to scan in order to be able to pick up the item that is in the thermal visor position, the scan icon turns orange instead of the red that it usually is. For those of you who are not well versed in Super Metroid, pardon me, in Metroid Prime, with the scan visor, the red mark indicates that it's something important, or is a pirate data or Chozo lore that you can pick up. So basically, if it's a log scan that can be permanently added to your database, or if it's something you have to do to move the game state forward, with one exception. And the orange stuff is non-essential as a rule. Not always, but mostly. And if it is important, you'll be able to pick it out because it's usually on one of those panels, basically. And yes, usually when you're in this location, you do not have the ice beam. So the Metroids are a little bit terrifying, especially if you're someone who is very well versed in the Metroid franchise, where you would be like, oh yeah, fighting a Metroid without an ice beam, that sounds like a really shit time. And they're not like super hard without it in this game. You've probably noticed that the Metroids are really frail in this one compared to any of the previous games, which is explained later in the lore of Prime 2, that it's basically because they're like degenerated. They're weak because of phazon poisoning, basically. That because the space pirates have been experimenting with weird radioactive rocks on them in order to try to make them more powerful, the basic strain is significantly weaker. Which I think it's mostly just that they were like, oh shit, we put these things in way too early in the game. So now we gotta have an excuse for it. But yeah, there was a lot of like weird, sexy advertising around Nintendo stuff in the aughts. But also the aughts, and as I say, the 90s too, were just a hell of an era for absolutely deranged video game advertisements. Do any of you remember there was this magazine advertisement for, I think it was the Game Boy Pocket, but it might have been the Game Boy Color, you know, advertising how many different unique colors they had the unit in, and it was like these tongues that were painted different colors, including one for Clear where the outer flesh of the tongue was vaguely transparent. It was kind of grody looking, as if the painted tongues didn't already kind of make you crawl enough already. And it's like, that's a choice. Like, somebody just decided, oh yes, we want the word tasty in our advertisement somewhere because we're using that as a generic positive, you know, this thing is good sort of descriptor. And then they ended up with, okay, how do we match that? I know, let's have painted tongues that are sticking out of this flesh wall. What an extremely bizarre idea for any sort of game advertisement. I mean, I've definitely seen ones that I thought were a little bit worse. And not even necessarily in the same way of being like that kind of weird. Because, yeah, alright, there was plenty of body horror weird that was involved with video game advertisements, but there's also just some that are kind of like, this is a choice that you've made for some reason. Okay, yeah, I gotta remember to go item. Uh, I forgot that there is a second item in here, and it is on the bottom layer. It's not by the Metroids. It's here. Let me crack that open. The super missile. Oh, hey, buddy. Like, I definitely seem to recall that there were probably more than one. There was probably more than one advertisement for just games in general, not necessarily any Nintendo product. Basically advertising hand injuries as being like, ah, yes, this game is so intense it will hurt you physically to play. Is that what people want out of their games? Like, I am no expert, but that seems not like my bag, personally. One in particular that I remember being very memorable was that this advertisement for, I think it was Gundam Battle Assault. It was one of the many Gundam franchise tie-ins because yeah, unsurprisingly there were a fucking lot of those. And in fact there still are quite a few. I think the only one I've ever played is the Gundam Wing fighting game, and that's kind of good. I mean, especially for being, hey, it's a licensed fighting game from the 90s. That is definitely like, wee woo, this is gonna suck. And it didn't somehow. But yeah, this Gundam Battle Assault advertisement that had like a gash in the guy's palm between his thumb and index finger, and a few other various stains that some of them looked like blood, others looked like pizza sauce. It was very unappealing, we'll just say. I mean, I suppose not a huge surprise to discover that advertisers don't really know very well how to sell certain things because, again, this is an era where people didn't have a great handle on how to sell video games other than as toys for children, as we've established by the whole thing with Earthbound. But yeah, a very odd choice just on a basic thematic level of like showing off this game is so hardcore it's going to cause you physical pain. There's sort of a subgenre of that exists in advertising for games nowadays, I believe, but it's less hand focused as a rule. And to be honest with you, video game advertisements that aren't trailers aren't really much of a thing that I feel like I see very much anymore. But hey, that's more about the power of ad block, baby. As Google keeps trying to remove it from Chrome. Well, I switched over to Firefox because fuck you guys. Okay, yeah, this is the right way to go. I just was slightly confused because that looked like a really high jump for a second. Once again, my memory not doing me any favors tonight. An energy tank is useful. This doesn't get us anywhere. Granted, at this point, the amount of actual progression-related upgrades that we need is Plasma Beam, and that's it. Actually, no, we do need the Phazon suit in order to beat the game. We need the Phazon suit. But I had forgotten about that because, admittedly, it's actually been a shockingly long time since this seed has been, well, mostly it's been me fumbling a lot in terms of any of the why is it taking so long kind of thing. Alright, so I don't remember the trick to force this force field open. Because this is supposed to actually be open. And usually you open it from the other side in the plot. But there is supposed to be handling for this in the randomizer. In fact, I remember there being such. So maybe if we get rid of the last guy here. Or last at least one guy. Oh, and then go back and re-enter. That often fixes it, I believe. You'll see. Oh, these guys are back already. Wow. Okay, so apparently this isn't a thing? The hell? I could have sworn there was a way to make that work, but yes, scan all the red things here just to be sure, because pirate data, yeah. Oh well. Go back, warp out, and go... Where do I go from here? Well, plenty of places, actually, now that I have the boots ball. This one seemed a little harder than the last time, which is odd, but... It's alright, we're not missing out on any items by not doing those, not going that way. Because the other item is only other item on that path is very easy to get at. And we're going to want to come back to this location anyway, because there's... By this location, I mean Phendrana, because there's a lot of items that we don't have here yet. Nope. I let go of the shoulder buttons too fast. Okay, yeah, I just had to use my brain for a second there. Like, what's the next course of action? And it's going back to Chozo Ruins. Let me think this through. So, first thing we do, we get the item in the main plaza. We get the items on the way to Tower of Light. It's 4 things right away. And they're pretty quick as long as I don't absolutely fuck up on the boost ball. Which, I'm gonna play that like shit for sure. There's nothing in the Hive Totem path. The Flogger path, we have Training Chamber to do. And that leads to a thing that we can hook across the main plaza for. It's not an artifact, we know that now. And then we can just... Wow, okay. Good job, me. Really having trouble finding the hole. No, it's right there. I can see it, and I failed anyway. Good job. So we can go in the back route, and that lets us get to Phazon Mines. And you really are going to give me this much guff when I try to get over the lip of the half pipe here, huh, Commodore? Get over there. There we go. I was starting to get worried. So yeah, top of the tower is an artifact. Don't know if there's anything in the water here of any particular import. I mean, we're still at sub 180 missiles, and we have Wave Buster. So missile packs are still of value. Yeah, see, I almost snuck that one past you because it took me so long to choke it out, didn't I? Nah, I'm kidding. Of course you'd recognize. When they brought back, well, okay, I guess they didn't really bring back Commodore Guff, but they gave him a card. And he was the character from that arc that I remember a lot of people were very frustrated with because he seemed like a bit of an author self-insert for, I think the novel author at the time was J. Robert King. I don't remember offhand because, well, bad memory. But, hey, yeah, they did eventually, I think, give practically everybody from that plot arc cards. Except for, like, maybe 1 or 2. I think Beau Lavar is, like, the only guy out of the Apocalypse era who doesn't have at least one actual character card at this point. They even eventually gave Gerard a card that wasn't garbage, which is kind of a shock because that's another thing that I remember from the era. People being like, really upset about the original card for Gerard when it was released in Apocalypse. That they were like, oh, this card is actually really, really bad. And this was the guy that had basically been the actual main character of that arc for a very long time. So the lore heads were kind of cheesed off about it. Back when Wizards actually cared about Magic lore. Hi, Irene. And there's me being mean again. Edge of Eternity seems to actually be a real story. Unlike, well, most of the last year and change. Edge of Eternities looks like a very, very good set. And I'm not just talking about the lore this time, because a lot of the cards actually look like a lot of fun. And there's some pretty cool design space explored there. And just, hey, yeah, neat stuff. I'm happy about that. The Stellar Sights, what's what they were called? I forgot almost what the name of the subsheet was with all the lands. Looks like you've got some pretty cool choices. A lot of them I like the look of. I mean, the font is a little bit cheesy. Yes, yes, No Man's Sky exists. Thank you for reminding me. But you set that aside. You got some good choices in there. I like a lot of the art. As I said about the special guests, I don't like the way the text looks. Because the art is independently probably okay, but a lot of the text just makes them look a little bit too comic book as opposed to what I would want out of it. And admittedly, I feel like, I haven't looked at too many, like, old sci-fi novels in the last minute, but the art sometimes gets there. Some of it's not good, but some of it's all right. Just do something about that font. Although Magic has been trying to be so much more comic booky for a while lately, so I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. That won't stop me from being surprised. Oh, hey. Also, the Jund Commander deck for Edge of Eternities looks really good. Like, I used to play Lord Windgrace as one of my commanders, and I remember that commander deck, while it was decent, was definitely missing some stuff. Meanwhile, I look over at that one, and I'm like, that isn't missing things, is it? Like, it might need Half-Life from Below? I'd have to go look at it again. Yeah, it certainly doesn't need the help, but for being a list that's just like, hey, here's most of what you really need to get started on this, on building this type of deck. Like, what else can I ask for other than, like, fetch lands? And God knows they won't put those in there, you know. Especially not Verdant Catacombs. Arceer Dragonstorm is still on the shelves. They still gotta sell those packs somehow. Okay, so I think Chozo Ruins is, like, completely cleaned up here. Yeah, we literally just didn't go in the map room and that's it. Wait, no, there's still some more stuff in the back side of the area. We want to go into the back chambers, and at bare minimum there's an item to pick up, and there is a short-ish way to Phazon Mines from there, and I have a feeling the Phazon Mines is going to be next thing. Yeah, I kind of think they have just done a lot of Jeskai commanders. And in general, I don't know that Jeskai is a color combination that needs help. Because it's already good. You know, again, sort of like as if Jund Land needs more assistance. Well, I feel like Jeskai anything is just, hey, all you have to do is dig enough through the archives of cards, and eventually you will find enough things that you can just go, oh yeah, I can make a stupid ass deck around this. Like, oh hey, you want creatures that do cool things? You're in the right color combination. You want anything that's based off of spellcasting? You're in the right color combination. You want to do stuff with artifacts? Yeah, you guessed it. You want to do stuff with enchantments? It's not necessarily the best. I mean, but also that's because you're not playing Bant and or Abzan, but you have a lot of good enchantments in there that you can use. Anyway, I'm gonna bump these bird ghosts off real quick to lighten the room up a little bit more. Like, I just feel like Jeskai can build almost any kind of deck, and admittedly a large part of that is because red-blue is very good. And while white has historically kind of been considered to be, like, the worst color in Commander, it also is the color that has, like, a lot of the control shell stuff that you would want. And Smothering Tithe. Which is just like, hey, yeah, I'm going to play this commander almost exclusively for that. Why the fuck not? Gramacon shenanigans. Yeah, that's a pretty good choice. I think Jeskai might actually be also very specifically the best color for Defender, too. I mean, yeah, Bant is kind of the one that you'd immediately look at as being like, oh yeah, this is obviously... But for a start, any white color combination is going to give you the goods because white has some of the best defenders. But two, red also kind of low-key has some of the best defender creatures. like, red originally was the color that had wall of stone, wall of granite. So there's two freebies for you that are just like extremely good. Plus, Vent Sentinel was released in oh god, Vent Sentinel is like 15 years old because that came out in Rise of the Eldrazi. Holy sheesh! I remember when that card was new, and I was like, this is pretty good. Wall of Razors is one that I think is a little bit underrated as a red defender creature. Like, you'll notice that they've never reprinted that because it's kind of solid, and if you can give it a way to attack, well, you're in a surprising amount of business. But yeah, just in general, a very good color combination for a lot of things. I think as somebody who is absolutely screwing this up, I apologize. I think my immediate inclination with building Jeskai would probably be to go with Zedru. Because that's kind of always been sort of like, oh, that sounds like an interesting idea to go with, but I bet Zedru gets like incredibly toxic as a deck. That seems like that does seem like one of those commanders that will make you an archenemy quite fast. But also, I don't think Jeskai has a shortage of that. Like, okay, it's not centriplets, but also that's like, hey, we're going to... That immediately kind of jacks you up a couple of levels on the commander power grid there. Their deck tiering system that I forget the exact name of. That is just like, yeah, I don't think we're going to allow that to stick around for very long. But just in... fucking hell, I am so bad at this today. Wow, did I, like, take a serious hit to the head at some point here? Eesh. I mean, I know this is small platforms and stuff, but still, this is really bad even by my standards. Point is, they certainly don't need to make more Jeskai commanders, because there's already enough of them, and they already do so much stuff. But I guess it's kind of like, oh, but this design space that we have. Yeah, cool. A lot of the other color combinations have plenty of design space as well, and you haven't done jack shit with those, so... Do you like to work on those as well, please? But a large part of it, just in general, comes down to the fact that Blue has just historically gotten so many things throughout the game's entire run. And it's not even necessarily like, oh, hey, they really wanted to make Blue have a very large slice of the pie. Which, on some level, yeah, they definitely made Blue wildly OP earlier on, but... I mean, we all kind of know that in early Magic, they had no idea what they were doing design-wise. We've all seen the rules text on some of those old cards, but I digress. It's just that it's sort of happened that way, that you end up with Blue getting cards like Long-Term Plans, for example. And it's not that Long-Term Plans is necessarily like the the most extreme example of it or anything. But it is definitely, hey, here's blue getting an effect that's not that blue. Because any card search is a black thing. So they were just like, ooh, buddy. You just were giving things to everybody. Just you did not care about that, did you? So, and also with creatures in general getting to be better across all colors, blue has obviously benefited from that to the point where blue gets real creatures once in a while. You're not sitting there settling for Mahamodi Chin because you're playing blue. You're actually able to get some things that are playable. I don't think blue has gotten an actual bear stat line yet, so nothing with a 2/2 and a cost of 1U without any sort of downside. But ultimately, that's hardly a problem because even then, they'll still get pretty damn close. The morph ball half piping is pretty fun. I'm just really bad at controlling with the GameCube controller because yeah, I've switched over to hardware now that I've got my Wii all set up and everything, and I have I have a very old version of Homebrew Channel on, but yeah, so I'm fumbling the controls pretty bad, but it is a pretty neat thing. It's fun. Spring yards, yeah, I can see it. Spring Yard Zone, the forgotten area from Sonic 1. At least I feel like it probably could be considered to be such. Yeah, see, I've never actually used the Wavebird, but I I freely admit that wireless control has very like not at all been my bag, I think, really. So I can't speak to anything with regard to the Wavebird. But overall, the GameCube controller does feel quite good, just in general, like concept level. Man, that's not neat. So I would assume that a wireless version of it would be also quite good. Now, I absolutely could just go and enter the area here, but there are items for me to pick up, and I don't have the plasma beam yet, so I would like to try to get hold of that. Controls are at the bottom. Alright. Brain has been moved, and that'll get us an item. Give me with my absolutely unnecessary charge shots, jeez. Whoa. Yeah, there's our plasma beam. Alright. Now, I think we only need the Phazon suit in order to finish the game. Because, of course, one of the artifacts is buried in an area where we need to be able to resist those radioactive rocks. Turrets. Missile pack. No, 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 no. Now after this, wave troopers. Yeah, we're going to the flamethrower room because you might need what's. Thanks. And we could have a really crappy time with Metroid, so that'll help. Ow. Boo. This floor has guys. Top floor is power tree.
Yeah, that's the one that is completely pointless out of all the red scans. Doesn't contribute to completion. Says, hey, security alert. Doesn't like game whatsoever. It's just a red scan for some reason. See people like me into waste time. Platform it doesn't. Yep. Oh, that is too early. I wasn't sure, but I thought there was a very strong possibility of it. Fire the late. Oh, went too far. There we go. See, we're not just spinning the big gun for no. It seems like we are. That's where the wave guys. Yeah, here we go. Oh, then, wasn't expecting that to happen. Exciting and new. Come on, get in there. uh, Sometimes things are a little bit. What's the way? Let's lead back out to the main. Head up, and it's just more souls. Again, that's fine, but I do kind of need some. Appreciate getting it. Or add any. Have to go back. Got him. Dang it. No, that's energy tank. Ice Trooper. Wow, okay, just steal one of my power bombs for some reason. I see how it is. Kind of. That clears all the toxic gas out of. You guys are in the. We need to save missiles now because we don't have X-ray scope. So in order to fight the security drone, this. I could probably fight it without X-ray, but it is a kind of shitty fight then, right? Like, hey, here's the thing that's actually invisible to you entirely. The whole fight, not like the bird ghosts where they're only sometimes invisible. Or Thardus, where you can't tell which object you have to hit, but they are in a preset order, and also the body is visible. Still really easy to puzzle out. Really. Wow, all that for a attack. Save. Shit, I'm out. So, well, that's great. I think I'm just back. Okay, what can I do? Well, I can go finish off Magmore, yes. Just had to make sure. Well, oops to me, I misread the shape of it. Two items left on this side. Second, I thought I passed it. The way that looked. Good. Actually good. I want to take a quick look at how many artifacts. Yeah, I'm at 10. Fandrino Drift Storage Cave. So I know where that is. It's the back of the world. And Phazon Mining Tunnel. I've already been over before. That is a place where I need the suit. Get past the need for those, game. Come on. Throw me a bone here. Sheesh. Big boy. Hey, a power bomb expansion. I almost forgot about those, and B, I actually kind of welcome that now because I ran out of power bombs earlier. And I got them back, obviously. It is one of those things where since they're useful only so situationally, you forget that you can run out sometimes, it feels like. And there's our missile pack for 180! And that ought to be enough to get us through Meta Ridley. Assuming we don't have the worst luck known to man or thing that... Not man. That's right, we'll come out that way, because we only have one thing to get in here for that one side. Got a couple of things to get in this room. Only on the one side of the pirate base. We don't have to go in there. So we've got all the items from the pirate base, and only other item that is missing from that side of the map uh, in Thardis room. Unfortunately, we cannot enter Thardis and then leave, even though we have the grapple beam. They expect us to actually fight that, and that is a big fucking waste of time, especially with no uh with no thermal visor. That's kind of a waste. So I'd like to avoid doing that. And there we are at 185. So instead I'm gonna go this way, then go get the items at Ice Temple, and then use the save point to basically warp to the other side of Thardis so that way I don't have to do the fight. It's probably not actually a better way to do it, but trust me, I'm gonna do it anyway. God damn it. Where did my double jump go when I fell off there again? That's rude. I even did that on purpose because I was like, okay, yeah, I'll back up and then I'll double jump onto the platform. The game was like, well, what if... No. Oh, that is pretty tight. Got the Phazon suit. All right. That is most excellent. I don't care about anything anymore. I'm just gonna go and get to a save point. In order to go do the things that I gotta do. I need one more artifact, which is round back of Fendrana. And then I need a... I need the artifact from Phazon Mining Tunnel. Which I guess, yeah, okay, I need 2 artifacts. The hell am I saying? All right, we're on the stretch before the home stretch here, folks. The pre-home stretch. I don't know. I didn't know much of anything, but this in particular, know very poor. Thank you, game. Actually, quite funny. Oh, come on. Oopsie. I know for sure. damn it. Oh, really? I was absolutely mashing the button. Sometimes I feel like I should hold the controller closer to the mic. That way, sure, but okay, well, there's the artifact. Let's go back. I mean, I can. Why not? At this point, we're already over 3 hours, so. That's right. Good. That's kind of the least useful item I can get right now. That was the side with the save room. Thinking that I could that properly. It's alright, we don't need the save room. We just need to actually get out of here. Take the save room, that's just a long. That's just lengthening back to on mines and get that best artifact. Although what could also lengthen my... This is not a room I'm in. Navigate it. Oh. It's a pretty long grab. that. Let's. Rando, how's it going? How is your evening? We are pretty close to done with this seed, and it's unfortunately kind of been one of the longest I've had in a while. Gotta go in the back door phase on mines, because it's faster than go. Well, all I can say is I've heard enough stories about the completely bug shit customers that you get that I hope you had slightly fewer than usual of today of people who were absolutely off their, you know. Because, ooh boy, you definitely seem to get the deranged end of the stick. That's for... That camera... I'm gonna be honest, folks. I'm like never in this room. So, on top of everything else, I'm really making myself look like I've never played this video game. That's... Game Lord Chicago. I mean... Listen, I want to tell you that you should be a little bit nicer to your establishment, but also... Man, you ain't wrong, are you? Game stores kind of do beat that, and that is one of those things that's just kind of exacerbated by the sheer availability, I would say, of like price checking stuff nowadays, and so everybody thinks that their shit stinks like way more than it actually does, basically. That they're like, oh, well, this person on eBay is getting this much money for... And, oh, well, it says on price checking, and also, that's a whole set of things that completely ignores the part where you are actually doing work with some of that stuff, too. First of all, you guys are a business. You've got to turn your profits. And second of all, you also do actually clean stuff up before you put it back up on the shelves for sale. At least I sure hope. And that's a whole chunk of labor charge involved there too. So like someone getting into an argument with you for offering $30 for 6 common Dreamcast games. That... Well, see, depending on what they are, that actually sounds kind of good because, I mean, listen, both of us know that the most common games on the system on any system really, can get, like, dirt cheap, so... I'm assuming that they're the sort that would, you know, add up to a little more than that if you sold them for obvious reasons, but... Yeah. Ah, shit, right, I gotta go through this room without X-ray visor. That's gonna get ugly. So hey, everybody, get ready for the 4-hour seed, because I'm gonna absolutely fumble the fucking bag on all of this platforming. Oh, no manual? Jesus, man. Yeah, see, anything like that where it's something in like a CD case too. If they're offering you no manual for it, that's like... Now, perhaps I've got something up my ass a little bit here, but that almost feels like you're not even getting the case out of it, right? Who the fuck is Retro Rick? I mean, admittedly I don't really follow too well with this sort of community because really my thing is like, hey, I think game prices are a little bit silly, but also part of that is because I remember an era where they felt cheaper. Anyway, yeah, that guy sounds like kind of a clown, but also on the level of like th- this is not the worst type of complete clown shoes behavior you've had out of any of your customers. This is just like standard issue again, guy who doesn't understand how little his shit actually stinks kind of thing. Yeah, like I've heard some stories from over at Retro Dimension that you were saying that you were getting some people who were like completely off it, and yeah. Oh god, I don't think I can get past this without not sucking at this. So this is gonna be a little rough. Because I don't know the timing for this, because I usually don't have to worry about timing it so much. Oh, I hear an angry Metroid. There you are. Now, perhaps if I was a little bit cleverer about this endeavor, I would be able to, like, use the Metroid as a platform by freezing it. But I've never tried that. That might not even actually work. See, I don't think a lot of people realize that moving that stuff is not necessarily all that easy, like in general, too. That, again, everything is kind of a hard sell sometimes, that these aren't necessarily just flying off the shelves immediately, too, right? I think all the people are like, oh, well, here's this price from eBay or from price charting, are completely ignoring the part where there's a bit of work involved there too, that like, hey, yeah, that person who's got the game posted for the amount of money that you're giving them on eBay probably still also hasn't sold it, because there's the matter of like trust not existing for a start. Like, hey, the one of the biggest upsides of being at a brick and mortar store is I can be like, hey, can I take a look at these discs? And I can see them, and not only am I seeing them in person, so it's not somebody's shitty photograph, but oh my god, I landed on the very edge of the platform. Oh boy. Yeah, don't do this without the X-ray visor, folks. This super duper sucks without it. Is the big takeaway you need to see from this, that what I'm doing here is because I don't want to go looking for I don't want to go looking for the X-ray visor. Yeah, basically, is that even when you get people who will post stuff that are actual photos, you do also have the issue of, like, if somebody's photographing the bottom side of a disc for scratches, it's not always gonna come through very well, right? Meanwhile, hey, yeah, again, if I'm at your store and I ask you and you say, yeah, you can take a look at the disc, which I personally would assume that you would do, that's quite a bit easier to see, for example. Just throwing that out there, not that I'm saying, like, oh, yeah, you guys probably don't have products in the best condition, but it's like, hey, this is a thing that happens. A lot of people have just mistreated discs over the years, and God, other things too. So even if you're getting not stock photos, which I see things that they just show you like a stock image of cover art or something, I tend not to trust those at this point, and that comes down to mostly CDs. I admit that most of the things I buy on eBay, it's CDs nowadays instead of video games, but sometimes I'll pick up games. When did I get Ride to Hell? I think that was last year, but also time has been moving in such an odd way, it feels like, as a well, the whole state of the world being. So I definitely I took a complete chance on that, but yeah, I've photographed discs of things, and it's like you can't tell that there's necessarily any marks there all the time, and I have tried to sell shit on eBay before, and it does not always go very quickly. But yeah, and the thing you said, the Ubisoft Montreal PS2 dev kit, that sounds like a pretty cool thing for you to have one of those there. So at least you get some interesting stories out of this stuff, right? So, yeah, an actual brick and mortar game store, there's a degree of trust involved there, and also just the level of work that is put in to make sure that stuff is in a good condition to try to sell it. People just throw shit on eBay and they'll just be like, okay, yeah, I dug this out of my closet, I'm throwing it in an envelope, and off we go. Not that I'm necessarily saying I haven't done that in cases, but okay, I don't think I've ever gone quite that far, but I admit that the small handful of things that I've thrown on eBay are not necessarily professional here. But shit. That's not even the point here. Thing is, yeah. People really do not understand the fact that it's not as easy as all that. Okay, I get the problem now is that it was moving back and forth. I forgot. I thought that one moved up and down. That might be something else. Oh well. It's alright. That was only like 10 minutes on a 40-second route. So I don't have the X-ray visor. Oh, Jesus, man. GameCube games, I've had some pretty hit and miss with. I bought a GameCube copy of Killer 7, and that works fine. But I also bought a GameCube version of, oh god, what was that 3D Pitfall game? Pitfall the Lost Expedition, I think? And that came in... I think they implied it was a little bit not perfect, but... a little bit not perfect was selling it short. It didn't play at all, and I ended up having to send it off to a friend who lives in the New York area who worked at a game store at the time, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll shove it in the machine. Yeah, and my boss will do any shit. So that ended up... it's a bit of a mess, but I don't think that's quite the worst job that I've had with any of the... any games on disc that I've bought on eBay. One time I bought a copy of Armored Core Nexus for the PS2, which, okay, yeah, it's not a GameCube game, obviously, but, so Armored Core Nexus is an odd one because it has 2 discs. There's an amount of 2-disc PS2 games out there, but they're comparatively rare, and AC Nexus is a special kind of weird because it's divided up so that the core game is on disc 1, and disc 2 is basically rebuilds of missions from older Armored Core games, because from what I recall, AC Nexus was sort of an anniversary celebration too of the franchise, 10 years or something. And so this person said that the discs were in perfect condition. I got them, and the first disc did not play. So that was the thing that I bought it for, was the main, the game's original MSQ, and I couldn't play it. So basically, that was pretty much a complete dud, especially it's made even worse because I sent that one off to my friend with Pitfall: The Lost Expedition, and I said, hey, can you stuff this in the machine at the place you work at? And he's like, sure. And he did, and he said, it's still fucked. And I tested it out, and he was correct. It was still fucked. So, thankfully it was only $30. I'm sure that nowadays, if you look for that on eBay, it's a little bit more. So comparatively for the price of a lemon, that's less bad than it could have been, but it still is like, try to not buy disc stuff on eBay because you're probably not going to get the best of quality. Like, I've had some that are still okay, like, again, but, yeah, limit your eBay stuff to cartridge, folks. And even then, you might look at the prices and gag a little bit. Although, I bought a couple of newer stuff on, you can usually find new games that are used on eBay for reasonable prices. Especially Japanese copies, I believe. I got my copy of Super Mario RPG for the Switch on eBay, and it was a Japanese copy, but it cost like less than $30 delivered. And this is before it was more common to find that. I think the price of Super Mario RPG Switch has gone down a little bit, so $30 for an English Switch copy is probably a little bit more reasonable nowadays, or a little bit more common to see, rather. But, yeah, that, I got a used copy of Fire Emblem Three Houses for like $35 not long after it came out. But that was a little bit of me poking around, and that is very specifically limited to, hey, that's more recent games. I'm not necessarily going to say that it's a reasonable choice with A, anything on a CD, or B, compared to getting it in an actual store. VideoGamesPlus.ca. Commonly abbreviated as VGP, yes. Because I follow a lot of, like, Cheap Ass Gamer, Wario64, and I see a lot of advertisements for sales on stuff from VGP, and I believe that's correct because A, the abbreviation lines up, and B, the fact that they're Canadian. They had something on there that I was kind of interested in recently. I think it was SMT3 Nocturne, and I thought about picking it up. I may have to actually do that at some point. But yeah. Again, cool to hear that that's a place that's pretty good. I had no real frame of reference there. So, yeah. Basically, good to know. getting them from like an actual establishment, I think, is generally going to beat the absolute pants off of getting anything on eBay. Because ooh boy. Oh shit! Yeah, it was that cheap. Nice. Well, I'll have to be on the lookout for that again in the future, because obviously sales are just like... Oh, nice. $7 for a new copy of that game. That seems pretty damn solid. Anyway, it's time for the wrap-up here. Now, thankfully, I've got the gear to make this fight a lot easier. Namely, Wave Buster. Oh, shit. It's very possible that I completely missed that. And I'm like, why didn't I order it then? Ah, whatever. Whatever the case may be, once again, cool to have a bit of a testimonial for another place that does good stuff when it comes to selling games. Alright, come on, Ridley, can you land, please? Maybe he wasn't at low enough health for that before. Or maybe he just knows when I'm balled up that it's like, oh, oops! I better get away from that boost ball! All considered, that's not bad. Maybe I still have... saying that, I'm like, maybe I still have some sort of, like, assumption of a Switch tax, and I don't necessarily know how true that is. Is admittedly, at this point, the amount of console games that I buy, not super many. Buddy, I fucked it up. So yeah, if you don't fuck it up, right now, back up a little bit and there we go. All right, dude. So, just for reasons of like easing this a little bit, to be absolutely sure that I get a kill with Wave Buster, I'm gonna fail to DPS that one properly, I guess. Or are you gonna give me like a stupidly easy pattern today? Not anymore. Right, now, sure, we take a hit. It's fine, gives us time to do this. And now, you just hold the buttons. Don't do this on hard mode. You will not have enough missiles. You'll have to do at least some of the actual fight for this. But yes, you can just electrocute Meta Ridley, and it takes away from having to think about the garbage patterns. And there we go. Longest seed that I've had in months on this game. Because I think stuff was just in really terrible places. But we did it. We beat our final boss. And yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, by the way. I'm not sure if the Wave Buster thing works on the Switch version of this fight, because this fight is a little bit different on the Switch, on the remaster. I believe the boost ball thing doesn't work. And indeed, the galaxy is at peace. But damn the amount of time I took on this one. I feel a little bit embarrassed. Because I've usually been able to get this to under 3 hours on some of them, and this time I simply did not. I assume that's because this hardware is still relatively unusual to me as opposed to playing it on Dolphin. And, 2-week layoff because of weather and stuff. And yeah, 331, and still only a completion percentage of 79%. So I gotta assume at least part of that was just me performing badly. Ah, well.